Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pull Up Trey, the podcast wherein myself, Samson Folk, talks about basketball with my dear friend Trevon Heath, Trey, who pulls up. I like that. Hey, it's a shoulder shrug. It's me, Trey. It's
It's
very
a
endearing.
me.
Yeah, it's a me, Mario.
It's
Okay,
me.
this is a real. Anyway, do we want to start the podcast that way? Who knows? But hello, listeners. Welcome, Trey. How you doing, man?
Good. It's the Raptors haven't lost a game since April, so I'm very excited. It
This
it feels
guy.
it feels great to be on the winning side of things.
This guy is harvesting, mining our other conversations for content. He's like testing things out. He's like, I can get this off on the pod. We haven't lost since April. But yeah, it's true. They haven't lost since. Well, do you count Summer League or is that like
That's, that's just like a side thing. That's not even real. Is it even the NBA? You know what I mean?
they they played an NBL team? Okay, I'm being a hater. Well, not
Professionals.
anyway,
Professionals.
regardless. Well, so here's the thing. The reason why we're having this podcast is the season comes right away. We haven't put on wax some award predictions. I think that there's going to be some award winners on these Raptors. Now, we're going to try and pick 4. I don't know if 4 happens, but 1 will happen almost certainly. 2, I could see it. We're talking about like all rookie teams, all defense, all-star selections, all NBA, 6 man of the year. Whatever MVP, if anyone thinks Scottie makes that jump, right? Whatever that needs to be, that's what we're talking about. We have with us Esfandiar Baraheni to
Hello.
discuss some of these award predictions.
I tried pop again. Hello.
Well, it just by proxy of like the pop in you were popping in. There didn't even have to be like the
jump
theatrics
scare.
on yours.
Yeah.
This is true love. Like with most people, a guy as famous as you would take weeks, even months to book.
Oh,
But you just
come
came in off
on.
the strength. I love it.
Listen, man, when a link gets sent in the chat, I'm ready. I'm more ready. I'm right here, ready to go. Yeah, that's a nice pop up right there. I should have done that. Or do the stairs,
Yeah. It's not wide enough for the stairs, but
can't do the
okay.
stairs.
We're going to talk some basketball, make some predictions. And they aren't just predictions. We're obviously going to justify why we think they're being made. Now, Esfandiar, yes, my dear friend, since you're the esteemed guest, I know other people, they try and get you. You talk about it. You have all these requests in your DMs, but you're on this podcast now. We got to start you off first.
Okay.
What is like your surefire award for this season?
Ooh, surefire. I guess I would say OG All Defense. I think that's one I can bank on. If I had to, quote unquote, bet on one, that's the one I'm most confident in saying, hey, OG can make an all defense team this year. This team obviously is going to hang their hat on the defensive end. I have 3 words for you, OG Anunoby. They're going to try to have the defense be the side of the ball that they can kind of have their identity at. You know what I mean? And I think if OG is going to be the lead on that, all defense.
Well, question. Firstly, I would when Darko said that in the room, you guys know me. My first thought was, is OG Anunoby 3 words? To me, that is
thing.
2
I thought the
words.
same thing.
It's like because OG is the shorthand for Ogugua, and it's like Ogugua. But do any of you guys consider that 3 words? Is the O a word and the G a word?
It's certainly not a word.
It was definitely a catchphrase. Darko is he's trying to be a really quotable guy, you can tell, with the whole signage on the,
There's a meaningful top-down, they want, like, Darko to have some cachet. They're like, we've had a coach here before who was kind of a rock star. Maybe you're not taking acting gigs or maybe you're not, like, a musician, but it'd be cool if the fans thought you were smarter than other coaches. And off to a good start in that regard. I'm inputting a new rule now. Since OG was selected for All NBA or All Defense, I suspect all of us had that. That is off the board. Can no longer be selected. We have to stretch our brains. So it is no longer 4 selections. Between the 3 of us, there's going to have to be 12. Now, I'm going to do a good thing, and I'm going to leave Trey last. I'm going to take the second one. Now, I'll say I'm picking Gradey Dick for second team all rookie, which means first team all rookie is still on the board for Gradey. And the reason why I think this is going to happen, You kind of see it with Jarris Walker. Caitlin Cooper just wrote about him with the Pacers. The Pacers don't have immediate plans for Jarris to kind of come in and pop off. Gradey, we're not sure what his role will be immediately. He's a guy that by the end of the season, I could see the last like 30 games playing first team all rookie very consistently, that level of play. I love Gradey's game. I just did a short little 4-minute breakdown on him on the Raptors Republic YouTube channel if anybody wants to watch. But I think that they're deep enough that there's going to be guys like if Jalen McDaniels has 2 months of like really great shooting, they can get away with like Jalen being ahead of Gradey for some games against some teams. And as far as, there's a lot of good rookies that he's going to have to play against. And there's a lot of teams who are very willing to give minutes to those guys. So Gradey Dick, second team all rookie. But I think that's the floor. I'd be surprised if he didn't make the top 10 rookies, which has, the 13th pick. Pretty good. Trey, well, firstly, does anybody have any thoughts about that?
The only thing I would say is that it's tough. It's going to be a tough rookie class to make all rookie. And that's the only thing that kind of pops to mind.
Yep.
I would lean to saying yes. I think his minutes are going to increase as the year goes along. And like guys like Otto, Jalen, their minutes will start to decrease as long as Grady's really shooting the ball like nights like the other night. He's going to have several of those games where he's hitting 4 or 5 threes, and he's probably closing with the team because he's able to shoot so well in some of those games. So
I had somebody ask me if Samson Lee on Twitter, another Samson for what it's worth, pretty cool. He asked me on Twitter if I thought that Gradey could get to where Gary Trent Jr. is now. I'm like, hell yeah, he can get to where, as far as impact,
not this year, but yeah.
No. Yeah. Like eventually, yeah. He's coming in. He's going for like 8 in a game, and he's only ending up second team all rookie. But yeah, I think Gradey has a really bright future ahead. Josh Codanera, our dear friend, he pilled me very early on Gradey. So anyway, Trey, go ahead.
I think like obviously like I'm not even going to mention Pascal. Like he's probably going to be an all-star again. But I'm going to say
if you think you got to take that.
Right,
he's a top 25 player. I think it's due, like more than likely. But
so is that the pick?
No. I'm going to say Jakob Poeltl, second team all defense.
And you complain about us being avant-garde. That is crazy to me. This guy said Pascal Siakam all-star. Too easy. Jakob Poeltl, award season. That's my guy.
Damn.
I just look at it from the sense that the Raptors have a chance to etch into hover around top 5 defense in the league if everything goes according to plan. The Raptors last season was middle of the pack, around 13th to 15th in total defense. The clearest indication of that increase in efficiency on defense is Jakob Poeltl entering the lineup. So I think for voters and for writers looking at the Raptors, the big change is Jakob Poeltl gave them that defender on the back line. Their defense improved significantly. And even with Fred leaving, they were able to like manifest an elite defense. So I think it's much easier to conceptualize for everyone around. And Jakob's also Jakob is also incredible on defense. You saw he gave Jordan Poole an incredibly tough night. He's going to offer the ability for the Raptors to chase and be aggressive in certain times that they probably were too aggressive with guys like Precious or Boucher or even Scottie or Pascal in the backline last season. So I think they have a really good chance for their defense has to be the lead of this team.
Yeah.
And they have a really good chance to hit top 5. So I think Jakob has a solid chance.
I see the wisdom there. Like the fact that Jakob could have a higher defensive impact than like 2 players who end up on the all defense team, I think is like not necessarily a likelihood, but there's a decent possibility that could happen. And also I think it's important that you mentioned like for voters, Fred didn't have a good defensive year last year, but in voters' minds, he's still like not elite, but a very good defensive guard. So losing him and still doing really well will show well on Poeltl and for the people who do their homework and go back to last season to see where this started. But you got to beat out the other centers.
Yeah.
And that's why you're a little avant-garde guy. But the good news is we have to do serpentine. We can't leave you last every time. So you get to choose another one.
Okay. My next one is a bit more hot too. I'm gonna say it's a bit more hot too.
I really hope it's not the one I have in my head. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna say he's gonna win, but I think Gary Trent Jr. finishes top 5 6 man of the year.
But that's the game. You have to think he's gonna win.
Give
us the pitch. We need the pitch.
Win the award,
bro. That's the game.
If
you want, you got to pick Pascal All-Star, or you got to pitch me on Gary winning 6 man of the year. Let's go.
He's not
man.
gonna win. All right, never mind. Let me.
If you don't pitch it, somebody else will.
Bro, Emmanuel quickly was second last year with 12 points a game. If Gary is out here doing I'm not gonna do the pitch for you. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Never mind. It's okay. I'll say Pascal Siakam makes another All-Star team.
Okay. That's everyone here. We're pretty fine with that.
Yeah, that's self-explanatory. But I'll give my rundown. His usage, I think, as a play finisher should increase. Sky's gonna get the ball a lot more. His efficiency should go up with him coming off of cuts, working 2-man game with Scottie, and I think he's going to get more opportunities. With sort of what we see in the preseason, that both Scottie and Pascal have been staggered with shooting lineups around them, and that should bode well for both of their numbers increasing. The Raptors are going to be. I'm more bullish on them than I was like 3 months ago. I think they're heading into the All-Star break. They're going to be a lot better. So I think he makes it in as a reserve with maybe somewhere around a 22, 6-6 type numbers, and the Raptors are hovering around an 8 or 9 seed, where it's really plausible for him to be a reserve.
Yeah, I don't expect there to be. I expect his numbers to dip, but if the Raptors are. Because he was really up against it making the All-Star team last year. He was like tired, legs are dead. He's having a bad he had 15 games of well below average play for him. The Raptors record is bad, and he kind of sneaks in through the back door into the All-Star game. Things could be not as the volume of his numbers could be lower this season, but the Raptors could be achieving things at that point in the season. A better record. They could be closer to 500, maybe a bit above it. I think that there's room for that to happen. Totally. It's my choice now. Unless, do you have any Pascal thoughts you want to get off, S?
No, I agree. I guess it's not even a question, but it's just more so thinking about how his season is going to progress, and obviously the usage rate, if that is going to be involving him more as a ball handler. You mentioned the play finishing thing. I think that's obviously key to how efficient he could be this season. Maybe that efficiency puts him over a quote-unquote Julius Randle last year with the Knicks. That kind of pops out. His efficiency was something that was lauded. So, yeah, I could see a very easy case for Pascal being an all-star. I guess the only question I have is, those first 2.5 months when they're trying to figure out Darko's quote-unquote scheme, how does he play into it usage-wise, and what lineups are they throwing out there to kind of maximize it? That's a question. It's not necessarily something that we know already tangibly, how it's going to look, right?
You're saying that if Pascal improves, he could get to Randall's level? That's summing up your point.
Yeah, just clip it up, please.
I'll take the next guess. Gary Trent Jr., 6th man of the year. Let's go, man.
There you go.
What is the point of saying top 5? Since when do we reward cowardice?
Listening experience.
So, here's the thing. Gary Trent Jr., 6th man of the year. The case is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroder has had really low usage at the point guard position through preseason. I've liked Dennis's application of his talents. The Raptors are still trying to find the most harmonious fit for him. Here's the thing. Gary's going to get a lot of minutes, even if he's not starting. He's going to be a de facto starter based on impact, based on usage, based on minutes. And he's going to just snugly fit into he qualifies for 6th man of the year. And if the Raptors are able, now basically I think this is dependent on one thing. If things go forward as they are now, and you get Gary going for 18 points per game, maybe he gets a little bump in assists as well. Maybe it's 2.4, 2.6 or something like that. I think he's going to be like firmly in the race. If that only exists, that only happens if the Raptors are happy with how the starters are going. If it's not a disaster. If they can't figure out the starters, Gary's probably finding his way into that starting lineup, and then the dream is dead. Mm-hmm. So that's basically my hang up with it. But as far as just like 6th man of the year, the most raw production award, like how many points did you score? If you scored less than 14, like screw off, we hate you.
Yeah,
even if you're fantastic.
You know what's funny? I was just looking it up. Malcolm Brogdon last year, who was the 6th man of the year, who's 14.9 points per game as the 6th man of the year. If Gary is averaging 18 off of the bench, he's like number 1 right there, because it's such a points per game award too. They're looking straight at that points per game and saying you are the 6th man of the year. If he's getting 18, that's easy money.
Exactly. He could follow in the footsteps of like Lou Will.
Yeah,
something like that. Except better defender than Lou Will. And that's not to say that Gary is dynamite on that end, but a good Gary year is better than Lou Will's 6th man year, I think. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Gary's season. I think that if he plays on the bench, there's a very strong possibility that he wins 6th man of the year, because he's going to get shots and he's going to get possessions, an inordinate amount relative to other people who have a similar role to him. Trey, any thoughts before we move on to S?
No, I think it's possible. I think he'd be similar in a sense to what Norm was, coming off of the bench, running off of screens, being the play finisher on a lot of the sets that they're running. You saw it in the preseason as well. And it looks like he's going to get opportunity in secondary actions to be a playmaker.
So, lefty side, Matty D,
dunk. So he has a chance, like from a raw production standpoint, to put up a lot of points and be able to play 35 minutes, even being off of the bench. So I think he has a chance. I was going to say top 5, but winning it isn't out of this world either.
So we convinced you.
Exactly.
Wow. The power. Yes. See if you can convince us on this will be 6 selections deep. So we're
okay. I've got a spicy one, and I'm glad that I kind of can throw this one in early, because I have a couple that I think you guys will mention later on. I don't think you guys will mention this one. Darko Rajakovic, Coach of the Year. This is my pitch on it. Let's say the Raptors overperform their expectations. I think their over-under win total is 36, 37.5, whatever it is. Let's say they win, 45 games this year. They're a 4 or 5 seed, maybe a 6 seed. That is overwhelmingly exceeding those expectations, I think, by about 9 wins. I would say, given the quote-unquote bad vibes of last year, the changeover, him being a rookie head coach, the overall vibes that he's injecting into this, I think even for what we were saying earlier of them kind of propping him up a little bit to be like, this is a quotable guy, this is a guy who's going to be able to give you the sensational quotes post-game, whatnot. I think that's going to play a factor into it. I think he's going to be beloved by the fan base in a lot of ways. That's going to track for social media stuff and all that. Coach of the Year, Darko Rajakovic, if they look really, really good, there's a chance for it. That's the only thing I'll do it. I'll throw my hat in the ring for Coach of the Year. Darko, that's all I got.
I think if they go, I don't think 45, 46, 47 does it. If they go 48 or above, if they clear their expected wins, because I think for most, yes, the over-under is 36.5, I think. But that's baking in if things go wrong, right, and then they have to abandon things at the deadline. I think that the Raptors, if you went around asking people, most people probably have them between 38 and 41, something like that.
Yeah.
If he can get them to 48 and above, people are going to be saying he has this big, gorgeous basketball brain. The term basketball mind will be used quite often, I think. You know what I mean? So that's a good one. There's a possibility for that for sure. And especially since what is he, the 3rd ever European head coach?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of narrative stuff attached to that too, and players love him. So if he is coaching, Eric Kareem, that Athletic article where he pulls 18 different NBA players and they're all Darko taught me, like he talks about, they talk about Darko the way that Trey and Kai talk about Raptors Republic when they're cracking jokes. They're like, they say it saved my life. You know, we're going to get that piece. It's going to move mountains. Yeah, I think there is a possibility for that, for sure.
The only thing I'll say that might hurt his case is that from a general media consensus, the one thing that people are thinking of when they think of Darko right now is the Knicks lawsuit. So maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe that hurts his case a little bit. They're like, oh, that guy, he stole all his plays, you know? Yeah. I don't know.
They'll definitely have to be a top 4 seed for that to happen. I think the one key like narrative point is if they finish in the top 15 in the NBA in offense, because it's a clear indication of his impact.
Offense or half court? Because they were 12th last year in overall offense.
Yeah, I think in like the actual half court, if they are able to become an efficient offense, and the key talking point is that they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. This guy comes in, they become one of the most efficient offenses in a structure that looks like it's impossible to do so. It's a clear narrative point that makes sense, and if their win total also correlates with that, I could see him winning the whole thing, because no one right now is expecting the Raptors to finish in the top 4.
If they get a top 15 half court offense, they're winning 50 games. I could very easily see that. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, like that would
because they'll be like, for sure they've been top 3 in their sleep and transition frequency. Yeah. If they're top 15 in half court efficiency, they're going to get way more transition possessions. Their offensive rating would be juiced. You'd have to think to like top 7, and they're going to have a great defense. That outcome would be insane. Like we're getting the Darko ESPN on NBA. Yeah. What is 0.5 offense? Tell us. So it's like, he's like doing that whole thing. He would have a press tour, and that's a good one. We're still on you.
Oh, double time.
Don't take the one I want.
Okay, please. All right. I know the one you want is the one I'm thinking right now, so I'm not going to talk about it. Okay, how about we do Pascal Siakam All-NBA? I think there's a case for it. I think obviously, there's the money implications, the financial implication of him making All-NBA.
$93 million, I believe.
A lot of dough.
Is up for grabs.
Yeah, a lot of money. I mean, man, that's a lot of money. But ultimately, I think there is a case for it. You know, we talked about the efficiency earlier with the All-Star stuff, but ultimately, if he's like much better as a free throw shooter, if he's a guy who can just feast off of dump offs, a guy who can work in transition, a guy who can kind of, I would say just cook in general off of off-ball movements, hey, that's going to be huge for his efficiency. And if he's like, I don't know what was last year's true shooting percentage for him. Was it 58% true shooting? Yeah. If he can get above 60, maybe like 62-ish, that would be huge for him efficiency-wise. So, I think Pascal, All-NBA.
Yeah. If you can talk yourself into All-Star for a wing, you can talk yourself into All-NBA. That's been the case for like the last 3 years. There's a reason Pascal and Julius Randle have been toggling All-NBA selections. It has been the old guard of the wing has kind of phased itself out with a lot of injuries. Like just guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the easiest place to point to, is guys who they haven't played enough games. LeBron, who knows what happens there? Like there's so many guys who are just fading out.
Plus the new rule, the 65
games.
Significantly.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, that's a good one. And thank you for leaving the one that I'm going to choose next.
I got you.
That's going to be the big conversation of this podcast. I suspect people want to listen to. But Pascal All-NBA, well within the realm of possibility, I think. Here's my selection. Scottie Barnes All-Star. I mean, that has to be one that gets talked about. I asked to kind of preview this. I asked on Twitter, I said, okay, here's my Scottie stat line prediction. What's yours? So mine was 18.7 points. 7.1 boards, 5.8 assists, 1.2 steals, 1 block. Those are great numbers. I would be over the moon if he does that this season. Some people came in a little bit less than that. Hardly anybody undercut that. Most people were predicting like around 20-7, 20-8, plus All-Star. If Scottie clears 20 points per game and goes north of 6 assists per game, I think there's a distinct possibility that he could be selected as an All-Star. Now, he and Pascal, provided that they're not, like there's an outcome where like 6 of these are correct, where they win like a hell of a lot of games. Darko is in Coach of the Year race. Gary's in Sixth Man of the Year race. OG's all NBA, all defense. Pascal's all NBA. Scottie's all star. Like if they're a top 4 seed, they can get 2 all stars, Scottie and Pascal. This is the situation we're talking about for this. If he goes for like 20-7, 20-6, something like that, his defense has really improved. As we've seen in the more conservative scheme when he's playing closer to the basket, he's way stronger there. By the numbers, I think we're going to see a huge leap as far as like impact. I think the numbers start really loving Scottie this year. I think that the raw numbers will improve. And, the dialogue will turn around for him because his points per game wouldn't have stagnated. And I think like there's going to be some intriguing like shot creation stuff that comes along with it. And his highlight package is going to be nuts. Like the passing, the dunking, all that kind of stuff. And he is like a very, very popular player the league over. If he pops off, he's going to get like a huge flood of votes. If the Raptors are a good team, he's going to get a lot of support, and people are going to voice that support pretty consistently. Because also they're a little bit like the dialogue is a little bit tired of Pascal. That's not fair, but that's what it is. If the Raptors pop off this season, even if Pascal stays at like around 24, 8 and 6, which would be incredible, people are going to say Scottie Barnes, the young rookie leading this team. Well, the young star leading this team. And so there's a real possibility he makes an all-star team. And that would be a huge third-year jump. I don't think it's a likelihood, but it's within the realm of possibilities.
Well, there's another award that could kind of tag on to that.
Yes.
I'm just throwing it out there. Just Trey, if you need an alley-oop,
This guy ghostwrites for Drake like 3 times. Now he wants to ghostwrite everybody's answers.
I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Look, I agree, by the way. I think there's actually a couple of different ways that we can get to the Scottie Barnes all-star outcome. There's like the Pascal situation, and if the Raptors do decide to go to a different direction and the team is still somehow good and Scottie is producing, there's a very clear route there for him to be an all-star. On the other side of things, similar to what you said, if this team is producing with Pascal still on the team and he's taken that scoring leap, maybe handling the ball more, his usage is higher, making, obviously assists, just the raw numbers as well, there's a very, very clear route for him to be an all-star. They also only have to be like in the top 4-ish range till end of January, right? So there's a case there for him to, or the Raptors in general, to just get out to a hot start. And then, maybe the shooting is working for some of the guys. Maybe they start off on a hot start. The team is like top 4-ish, and then you have to consider one of those guys for all-star.
Yeah, 2019-20 was the last time they had 2 selections, Pascal and Kyle. I do wonder. They clearly have an uphill battle to get to 2 selections. Yeah. They'd really have to pop off. And the other case is that Pascal, something happens with Pascal in that like he really doesn't fit well, which I don't think is likely. His efficiency or his raw numbers go down, and Scottie leapfrogs him in year 3. Right. That's probably where Scottie could be the lone all-star. But I don't think that's super likely. I think it's more likely that they get 2 in Pascal and Scottie than it is that they just get Scottie. Yeah. But yeah, a possibility nonetheless. Trevon Heath, we're deep in it now, brother.
Yeah. Samson Folk. My last prediction would be OG wins the steal title again.
Oh, you just invent awards.
Is that an award?
Did they not announce it? Did they not say congratulations on winning the steal title?
Did he get like a little plaque? He was like, he's like, thank you.
I just said I remember a social media post saying he won the title.
Social media posts are
Shelvin Mack got the assist leader for the Orlando Magic social media post.
He
was like 3.4 a game.
It was worth noting.
You couldn't just say Gradey first team all rookie, huh? You had to.
I guess it's team.
You know what? We're 8 deep at this point. Your next one better be creative. I'll give you this, but you got to stretch your brain on this next one. Cool. Like, sure, OG leads the league in steals. Brave man. Ooh.
As we've seen from the preseason, it looks like OG is going to be guarding the primary ball handler in a lot of situations. So even though that they're running probably more conservative than they were last year, he's still going to be at the point of attack majority of the time, and he's going to have the opportunity to get steal opportunities. he's going to be going against people much smaller than him. He's going to be able to put his hands on them. He's a lot bigger than them, and use his long wingspan to get and generate more steals. And it looks like the Raptors are trying to. I don't even know.
3 words.
Three
OG
words.
Anunoby.
See, that's why you know it's not 3 words. It didn't click. But.
Okay, but you got another prediction here.
Yeah, Serpentine, baby.
What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
My last one was
you like that? You like that meme? It's like
no, it was mine is Scottie Barnes most improved player of the year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, just considering there's like you said an outcome where Pascal gets traded and he's getting the majority of the usage. That's probably the most likelihood where he wins that award. But there's also the chance where he's manning that bench lineup for say 10 to 15 minutes a game. That allows him to operate as a screener, play finisher, really being the hub of an offense for long stretches and periods of time where he maybe excels. If the team shoots, the bench lineup shoots, say at a high clip, he's probably then averaging 25 and 5, and he's able to get easy looks at the rim, pass to those guys, and the success of the team is looked towards him as opposed to Pascal. And it looks like everyone has kind of been predicting like Scottie's going to take this leap. He's the person that's going to lead this team. So it's already in the mind of the national media. So I think he has a really good chance of winning it.
If he revives the like potent bench lineups, Zach Lowe writes that Scottie Barnes is the new Kyle Lowry before February.
Yeah.
Like and that's gonna stick with people. And he's gonna, Scottie Barnes is a cudgel against, other defenses. That I don't know. That was probably closer to like Jordan Peterson than it was Zach Lowe. I can't do a Zach Lowe.
Zach Lowe's tough.
It's definitely a possibility. I've said that like 18 times. I gotta drop the word possibility out of the rest of this podcast, but certainly something that could happen. That sounds pretty good. Certainly something that could happen. Most improved player. There's probably a small possibility that it happens if there's like they pop off, the team is great, maybe he gets enough. But who is he competing with, do we think? Just quickly. Like when we think of who else is kind of gunning for most improved player, Cade Cunningham?
Yeah, guys in his draft class, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. 20 to 21 draft class, I would say. Desmond Bane has a really good chance with Ja being out 25 games. He's going to have to take the lion's share of the usage. Jordan Poole, obviously, he's going, as you saw, he's going to shoot the ball a ton. And I think if I were to guess most likely in the league, it would probably be Tyrese Maxey, just because Harden's not going to be there, and he's going to get tons of usage now as their ball handler.
I think Jalen Green is also that draft class is a really strong, especially since so many of those guys have been on like really underwhelming teams, faced injury stuff, or like underwhelmed just a little bit in a certain aspect. Like Evan Mobley, the defense as advertised, the offense hasn't had all the room to pop off yet. Yeah. If he made a big leap, you could talk yourself into MIP. Cade Cunningham just being like a great guard, coming in and leading the Pistons to like, this big, strong start to the season that hopefully lasts, something like that. There's a ton of room there. Jalen Green, like finally putting himself on the map outside of like the odd highlights or like being like kind of like a social media mogul. That would be a super big deal for him. And they all have a chance at doing it. So
you could pretty much go through the top 10 of that entire draft and make a case for all of them. I mean, another guy who pops out is Franz Wagner. Like,
I think Franz is too good.
Yeah,
maybe
prior.
Yeah, maybe.
I think his jump, especially since he also has Paolo there, that's really tough. But I still think Franz has been on aggregate. He and Mobley have been the best rookies out of that class so far, which is why I think it's the toughest for them to win it. Because they have, there's like the something of high expectations. It's like it's the burden of high expectations or something like that. But yeah, Franz rocks. I guess we'll see. But yeah, it's a possibility. I guess we're back to me now. I got to pick an award. Oh God!
Exactly. See, this is the year.
This is yeah. This is 10 picks deep now. This is tough. I'm struggling to even think of what it could be.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to go with OG Anunoby All-Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is maybe not as like romantic and happy as, the Scottie or Pascal, right? Because the narrative is driving one way. It's like this is a team led by Scottie and Pascal. OG is a guy who has been trying to assert himself as an on-ball creator. I don't think the likelihood is very high. He's trying to assert himself as an on-ball creator. The floor of his game, his impact is so unbelievably high because of his defense and his three-point shooting and the ability to finish at the rim off of cuts. Something has to happen with the roster. There has to be a shakeup that changes the hierarchy of the team. And that would leave OG in some sort of position to run our test this thing.
Yeah.
Like 20 points, 4 assists in the conversation for not just, all defense, but defensive player of the year, like he was at the start of last season. This one I feel the worst about. I'm going to be honest. I love OG's game. He's going to get this big, glorious bag in free agency. He's going to get paid a lot. He's, to me, like a top 40 player in the NBA, roughly, that's high. There's a lot of good players now. But I don't feel that good saying he's going to be an all-star. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like, wow, this is a tough one. And maybe I'm just not being imaginative enough. I could have invented an award like Trey did or something like that. But OG Anunoby All-Star, I feel like, is where my guess has to go.
Do you feel more comfortable about that or him winning Defensive Player of the Year?
Oh, Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He would really be up against it.
Yeah.
And honestly,
yeah.
Now that you say that, that would have been a way better pick. now that we're here sitting in it, that would have been a much better pick, to be quite honest with you.
Switch it up.
Let's just have the conversation. It doesn't have to be the pick, but we're talking about OG, long conversation. So, Defensive Player of the Year, what is the case? The Raptors are way better on defense. They're top 5 defense.
Yep.
OG Anunoby was all defense last year. There's no way in hell Jakob is going to be regarded as a better center defender than other guys because the narrative is always like 2 years behind, right? Like OG was giving all defense impact like 2 years before he was considered and like 4 years before he got it. It like defensive reputation takes too long to get there unless you're Ben Simmons or something like that. And then it lasts longer than it should. Kawhi. This is always the case.
Yeah.
Jakob, he's not going to have the juice. Nobody's going to want to elevate him above the other centers defensively. However, OG has been juiced. He already has the momentum. He makes all defense for the first time in his career. If the Raptors are like an incredible team defensively, and if they're a good team overall, there's enough games like holding Jordan Poole to 1 of 15. There's enough games where he's stopping, like these elite wing creators. There's enough games where he's, sticking Jokic above the break, and they're using like these, presumably unique schemes in the in-between when Jakob is off the floor against like these bigs. You could talk yourself into it. I'm talking myself into that that's a greater likelihood than all-star. But then again, if you have a guy who, shoots the three really well, gives you like 16, 17 points per game, and is in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, didn't Jaren make an all-star game and be in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year at like 13 points per game, and he rebounds like twice a game? I don't know, man. If he wins Defensive Player of the Year, he probably also I don't know. The Raptors just have to be good. Yeah, my selection is both. I like them both. No. I feel like Defensive Player of the Year, where people really are like, wow, at the end of the season, the Raptors actually stuck around. Their defense is actually really good. They didn't trade anyone at the trade deadline. I think Defensive Player of the Year is a greater likelihood than All-Star. So let's go OG DPOY. Thank Thank you, S, for saving my suggestion.
No, I think that was going to be the last pick for me too. I was like, maybe I'll just include it in here. I'll throw another one in here just because we've been talking about it.
You're an ideas man. This is what I'm learning.
Listen, Trey, if you need another marketing guy, just let me know. Let me know.
Could you imagine if you got the job before Kai? Oh my days.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be disruptive. No, I was gonna say Dennis Schroder All Defense. There's a case there, right? I mean, if he's starting, if he is one of those guys at the point of attack, screen navigation, quick, draining shot clock, like you mentioned on one of the articles, I think it was the Chicago one, right, Samson?
Yeah, Steph was talking about
with
that.
Steph, yeah. But ultimately, yeah, if he's doing that, and he was great for the Lakers last year. Like the defense for the Lakers was really, really solid. I think the reputation is there for him to be a good defensive player. Now, to be fair, all defense guard is tough. There's 4 spots, and Derek White is most likely going to get a spot. There's
Andrew Nembhard already.
There's Alex Caruso is essentially guaranteed a spot. Some of the spots are already spoken for. But I think there's a chance with Schroder. He's going to get at least some love when it comes to his defensive impact, especially if the way we're talking about this team, if they're going to be a top 5 defense in the league, some of the, I guess, claim has to go to someone,
Yeah.
They have a lot of good defenders. Like Scottie, when he plays low, so far, and in a lot of the games where we've seen him play low in the defense, is not well above average, but above average. Who knows how good that could be this year? Pascal, when he's not a walking husk of 38 minutes per game for 3 years straight and battling through injuries and running a ton of miles, is very good defensively. OG, all defense. Jakob probably will be in the realm of all defensive level impact, even if he's not going to make it. And Dennis, really sticky point of attack defender. Mm-hmm. And also they have the length to kind of cover up his off-ball miscues. Because he does get lost a lot off ball, and he can be, because he really focuses on the ball. He ball watches a lot. That's why he's a good nail defender, for example. But it's also why he gets back cut a ton. I like that pick. That's fun. That's 12, I think. Yeah. Does anybody, that might even be 13. I'll know when I go back and look at this. But does anybody have, they're not going to win 13 awards, I don't think. But does anybody have a 13th or a 14th thing? Are there any awards left on the table that you could talk yourself into?
I was trying to think of something for Precious, but I really can't do it.
He don't get play enough minutes to make all defense, I don't think.
Yeah.
No. We are already scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Dennis is not going to make all defense.
No.
Can I say Javon Freedom Liberty G League Player of the Year?
Oh, hey, G League MVP isn't bad. Yeah.
Sure. He's awesome, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's he's incredible. He's been in the running for it in past years. So yeah, I think that's a distinct possibility. Okay, we get one other pick the league over. If you want to pick the actual defensive player of the year, the actual MVP, whatever that looks like, I feel like that's a fun little thing. Trey, we'll go back to you. Okay. Is there a spicy awards pick? Or maybe someone else might win the Steals title this season.
MVP, I'm rocking with my pick the last 2 years. Jayson Tatum.
Oh my God. Man.
I actually agree with it this time. The
Celtics are going to win a lot of games.
They're going to win a lot.
The floor is even more wide open than it was last year. He had a bump offensively. The numbers were MVP-like, and they have a chance to win the East.
The whole American MVP narrative is going to cook this year.
That is a fact.
It's going to cook.
Yeah. American MVP in 5 years now?
Yeah.
And Boston has a chance to win 60 games.
When America said they had the budget for another war, they meant they were going to pay for Jayson Tatum to get MVP. Man. If he makes the passing leap, he's there. We haven't seen it yet. I've talked about that enough. You guys have heard talk about it enough via text and via voice. So that's fine. I don't think I agree. But I don't agree overall. And the only reason I was so staunchly against it last year was because you took Jayson versus the field. And I was like, the field.
I was cooking for about 3 months.
You were cooking for
like a month.
Yeah.
Like a month. Really.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, a month. Yeah. A little bit too big for your britches over here. But just like Jayson as like a selection, I had a big reaction. But in the 47 seconds since, I've kind of sobered on that reaction. And I think that's a pretty good selection. Let's do a hot take little thing. Why the hell not? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP. The Thunder make the big leap. Chet allows them to play the type of defense they want, sometimes a little bit more conservative, but also in the like super aggressive schemes. Giddy is like getting better. You get the Jalen Williams leap, our dear friend Kai. You just get all these things trending in the right direction. And Shai is like 30-6. It could happen.
Yeah.
Another non-American MVP. I think Jayson Tatum has a much better shot than Shai, for what it's worth.
Well, if they're like top 3 in the West and they're a 50+ win team, that's not crazy. There have been worse record MVPs. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah. Chet would probably have to be like all-star good for them to make that type of leap.
I'd be very, very surprised if they go for 50+ games. I mean, that would be awesome. I love that Oklahoma team. Like in the outside looking in, I love that team. They play super fun basketball. They have just like a glut, endlessly interesting players on that team. An MVP selection.
Oh, MVP or just hot take?
Whichever you want. I thought you might round it out since we all did MVP.
Okay, MVP. What about Dame? Do you think the Giannis?
No chance. No chance, bro.
Do you think what if it's a season out the world? I don't know. Maybe the Giannis stuff cannibalizes.
Did Giannis get hurt in this scenario?
What if it's like, hey, their half court offense is fixed? They're like, I don't know, second or third half court offense in the league. What if Giannis is good but not as good as usual, and they still win 55+ games? I don't know, man. Just throwing out a hot take there.
I feel like Giannis would have to have a broken leg to average, would have to be running around with a broken leg to average less than 25.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think you'd have to miss 30 games of the season, and then Dame is heroic and keeps them afloat, and they win the East anyways for that to happen.
And even then, people would I don't see it at all. But I like the gusto of it. I really like being able to say shut up to people. I think shut up is there's a lot of humor in shut up, especially shut up, because it's playful.
Yeah.
If you know somebody, I really like shut up because it doesn't get a lot of play anymore. People use curse words more now. F off. I'm not going to say it on the podcast. You guys have heard me say it elsewhere, obviously. That rocketed up. People use that a lot now. And Lost in the Shuffle is a good shut up. Shut up has a lot of power. It's pretty...
Right.
It's got some good stuff on it.
It might be because of Succession, Brian Cox got the F off. He's patented it,
There's a lot of power there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other hot takes? We did MVP.
I think a dark horse MVP is probably Zion.
That's cool.
Yeah. Considering the fact he looks a bit more in shape. The Pels, when he was healthy, had the best record in basketball. I think true. They have a chance to be a top 4 seed if he plays 60 games.
Another American MVP vote for Trey, by the way. Just put it out there.
A true patriot. But I think it looks like from the preseason games I've watched, they're trying to do Zion point guard type actions and try to get him downhill off of screens. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 38-5 type season from Zion. They win 52, 53 games and he wins MVP.
I think honestly 30 might even be low. He could go 32, 33 points per game on 68% shooting if everything goes right. Yeah. That's you and I, we both made bets early on the darlings of the West. I was like, the Pelicans are going to the finals. Everything went wrong for them afterwards. You're like, the Grizzlies are going to the finals. and went wrong in a completely different way, in a similar way to the run last night.
Yeah.
A little influence, a little something going on. Yeah. Okay. Before we get out of here, does anybody else have a hot take of any kind? Get them off your chest so you can clip it later if you're correct. Be like, oh yeah, I said this. Remember?
This isn't a hot take, but if Anthony Davis plays 60-plus games, he'll win Defensive Player of the Year.
No.
Is that a hot no? What do you mean no?
I just want to say no. I just want to say no.
Like if he plays 60-plus games, but the possibility of that happening is so
I know.
low.
Yeah, but that's the precursor.
If he plays 60-plus, like 37 of those are healthy.
Oh, come on.
Like it's like Anthony Davis like being out there healthy, and then there's like Anthony Davis being out there. It's still really good.
Yeah.
You know, Ben Taylor told me he's the greatest basketball player ever lived, you know. So I think it's that would be good though.
It's been sitting. It's been resting in my brain. I just had to get it off. I just think
I think it's been at the forefront of your brain because you're a Lakers fan. That's what I think it is.
Maybe a little
bit. He was tremendous in the
another most improved guy, Austin Reaves.
No chance. No chance.
I'm cooking.
You said that one to bug me. I'm
cooking. I'm ready.
Let me say though, you were very early on the Austin Reaves stuff. Like very early on it. I still think you overestimate him.
Probably.
But I thought you overestimated him back then, and he just kept getting better. And it was very good for me that he got cooked at FIBA. However, it was very good for you that he was cooking in the playoffs because like he got his offense to a level that I just never saw possible. Is some of it the result of an overly friendly whistle?
Oh.
Yes. But is his bag way deeper than I thought, and like his ability to get a shot off and work himself into favorable positions, surprising and unique? Yes. You were correct about Reaves, but I don't think he's winning. Like,
yeah, I know. It's like expecting. So right now he's at like, I don't know, 90% of maybe more of what that ceiling that he's kind of at, right? If he were to break through that ceiling into another level, I've never seen anything like it. You know what I mean? Like it'd be very rare for that to happen.
If he does take another step, you're probably looking at a guy who could average like over 20 points.
Yeah.
And over like in around like 6 assists just because he runs the pick and roll so often. And we're in such a high scoring environment in the league now. And if you had told somebody at the start of last year that Austin Reaves, who was like, you know, a pretty heady defender and a guy who could hit shots and maybe run a second side action every once in a while to the tune of like 9 points and 3 assists in these short spurts, going 20-6, Trey would have thrown his hat off, man. Like that's But he's so much better than what I thought he would be, and so much better than what so many people thought he would be, man.
Dark Horse MIP, Jabari Smith. I'm a humongous fan. Second-year players usually don't win, but he's been tremendous in the preseason. We saw him in Summer League, and he's going to be in a position where he's going to be at the end of a lot of these possessions, especially when he's paired with Fred and he has a passing big in Sengun.
Yeah.
I think he gets acknowledged for the defense that he plays, which towards the second half of the year was much better, above average. And the three-point shot realizes to where he was in college. And it gives him a chance to be 18, 20 points with good defense.
He's gonna be their backup center, by the way. Like at times, I think like they'll put Landale, but like they're gonna run the small ball 5 stuff with him a lot, which is good.
He was bad enough in his rookie season that there's a possibility for year 2. Yeah. Like Scottie, even if Scottie had gone like 20 points and 6 assists last season, he wouldn't have won Most Improved Player because he had like 15, 7, and 4 in his rookie season. It's just not a big enough jump. That's why the third-year jump, which is usually like this big usage jump, is where everybody wins it, is like you improve from year 1 to year 2, but you didn't get all the possessions you needed for these gaudy statistics. I think that there's a big enough swing factor in Jabari from last year to this year that it could be talked about. The Rockets, man, I really wanted them to get. We talked about this obviously at the time trade. I really wanted them to get Brook Lopez. Like Lopez and Jabari, I thought would have been sick, man.
Yep.
Because
with Fred and Dylan Brooks too, that would have been.
Yeah, I think you could have slotted them as like 8 or 9 seed for sure.
Yep, they would have been in the picture. You didn't even mention Jalen Green, man.
Mm-hmm.
You said Fred and Dylan. You left Jalen Green out of
because he's not a defender. We'll see.
I watched like several of those Ignite games when Nico Mannion put him in the torture rack. I said that he was just going to be fine. I'm a supporter of Jalen.
For any of our Filipino listeners, let me bring up S's to direct the Okay, that feels like a podcast. Yeah. How do we feel about that? That was a fun one. Okay, no more hot takes. S, tell the people where to find you. Give yourself a nice plug. A hearty one.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you tapped into Raptors Republic, come to the Wednesday season opener thingy. It's gonna be fun. Gonna be there. These two are gonna be there too. Gonna be laughing it up like we did on this podcast. Find me on Twitter, where you guys usually find me at just Baraheni, SDPN, all that stuff. I have a piece on Chet Holmgren. We kind of mentioned him with the OKC stuff earlier, writing about Chet. Going to be out probably when this thing is out. So, yeah, thanks.
Hell yeah. And seriously, for anybody who the little clipping wizard this year, he started clipping some games. Hey. If you like getting your basketball news through Twitter, I urge you to get it through Raptors Republic. But if you like, but that's a big leap. That's a big leap. Most people want to get it on Twitter and then go to Raptors Republic or wherever they read SDPN afterwards. For live game stuff, he figured out the software. He's clipping this year. Yeah. And that's a big ad. So it's he was already like, as far as summarizing, consolidating, commenting on so much of what the Raptors do, S was like a premier option for the Raptors. If you want to know how the audience, like the fan base, is feeling, if you want analysis on the Raptors, if you want some fun commentary as well, S was like, that's the guy. And now he's clipping. This is S. Jones Jr. You know, he's
oh god,
doing game threads.
Yeah, listen. First of all, I'm just gonna say I won't be clipping on Wednesday because I will be with you guys. But that's the sacrifice that I am making to come and hang out with you guys because I love you guys. That is. Yeah, I told Trey at Ball yesterday. I'm like, man, the clipping is calling me. I
bring OBS Studio, like enhance.
I feel like the amount of autographs that you'll be signing at the event will be good enough for your ego.
It's gonna be you and Samson, bro.
No sir.
To plug Trey, if you do want to follow him on Twitter, just based on what I've seen, you're basically going to a Samson and S retweet factory. So apologies. He's a very supportive friend. Every once in a while he'll have a very good hot take, like when the George Niang tweet. Every once in a while he'll pop off. But yeah, I think like the Pull Up Trade podcast is a good podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. A little tip of the beanie to you for listening. Thank you so much to S for coming on. We will be there at 3 Brewers on opening night of the Raptors opening night. Lewis is going to the game. I'm going to be doing a live podcast. We will be after the game, talking to fans, streaming to the world. And there's like prizes, there's contests during. It's $15 to come if you're not a subscriber. If you're a subscriber to RaptorsRepublic.com, it's free. And you just get to come hang out, enjoy basketball with a community that has a very similar interest to you, which is kind of, when I moved to Toronto, I knew these guys already, but we forged our friendship under the same interest in basketball, both watching it and playing it. Shared interests make community go round. So if you want to make friends, you want to be able to talk Raptors, not just as a person who's like in a comment section, but with people that you meet and all that kind of stuff. These hangouts are a great way to do so. Make friends and like build community. So it's cool in that regard. And of course, we want subscribers. We want people to support the website. There's a bunch of stuff motivating it. But for you, on your end, listener, you want to make some pals the same way that I was able to, coming from Mexico to Toronto and having like a friend group already here. It was through basketball, man. Wonderful way to make friends. Okay, that's the plug. That's the podcast. For Trevon Heath, Esfandiar Baraheni, myself, Samson Folk, that's it. And whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and an hour on the dot. Goodbye. We got a podcast.
Let's go.
Nice.